Hey everyone, Ben here, and welcome to this special episode of the wWork podcast. It's Christmas and we recorded live from the Kata conference in Sweden. We had the fantastic opportunity to record directly from the plush interior of the new Volvo EX90. Thanks to the generosity of Ramus, this episode is not sponsored of course, but we still had a very comfy place to record. Joining me today are the insightful Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Thilo, and Maria as we delve into the compelling discussion about the future of organizational structures. We explore the impacts of AI and market dynamics, as well as the pivotal role of Kata practices in shaping how companies will organize themselves moving forward. Be sure to watch this episode to check out all the visual action alongside our discussion and join us in the new Volvo. Tune in as we unravel these fascinating topics together. Let's go.
Sweden, where the snow gently falls, Santa Ben and his podcast crew calls with Rudolph, Thilo, and Maria by side. In the podcast car they ride.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hey man, how's it going?
Benjamin, it feels like Christmas. Right now it's December, 4th? And we are in Sweden, and it snowed yesterday. Right now I don't see snow on the ground.
No,
and we're in a brand new Volvo EV.
Yeah, it's the biggest and baddest EV that you can get from Volvo. It's a CX90 equivalent of an EV, and we're comfortably fitting video podcasting equipment and 4 people in it. Or do we have people sitting in the trunk?
I don't think so.
I think only the elves. So I am in a Santa suit from some random scary shop on the internet, and I think you're dressed as a reindeer, so I think we're ready to rock.
Yeah, I think so as well. So, first of all, thank you very much, Joe, for being the second time on the show. The first person being the second time on the show.
Benjamin, I loved how you framed this. Like, build a podcast that does good work, but with people that are fun to talk to. Well, that's how I feel about hanging out with you here in Sweden in costumes.
Yeah.
Now, we're joined by 2 of the, I think I can say, more active. I mean, you both organized events. Lean Kata coaches, Toyota Kata, Kata System. KataCon was just hosted here in Sweden. And we have, would you both introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thanks, Joe. I'm Thilo, and we're just wrapping up here on KataCon Europe, which was an amazing event, and it was cool to have you both here. And thanks for sharing and learning with us.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us, despite having our crazy costumes on and kind of
Because of, I
guess.
crazy.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the deal, wasn't it? Yeah.
I don't think they would have admitted us.
We
if
made a deal?
Hadn't happened. Would you like to introduce yourself to the internet?
Well, my name is Maria Tapani Larsson, and thank you. I'm really grateful to have met you guys here at the KataCon convent, and I had some really nice inspiration. You planted some seeds in my brain today. Thank you for that. So it really got me. I will go home and be inspired and do.
You shared a story this morning about, I think it was Scania though, not Volvo, right? Where the groups were building a bus, and you printed out play money to set on each seat, 30 seats in a bus, to say, here's how much we could potentially collaborate with our suppliers per seat, and walked people through so that the people that would have to do the work, the negotiating work, could physically see. They walked through a layout of the bus with actual paid for seats, I think you said, with play money printed on each seat. Like, I don't remember the amount. As a visualization, so they could understand the money on the table and why it was important. And we continued to talk about visualizations and the Justice Board and AI Update, etc. But your analog version, printed out money on actual physical bus seats, I think was the example. Is that what you were sharing this morning?
That was one example, but don't you think that we are talking about data, we talk about AI, we're talking about digitalization and IT, and big data, but we forget about the visualization from the people who are using it. We don't think about how the humans are. How do we see? How do we react? How do we get into the people's minds and hearts and inspire them by the visualization? Like the map.
Yeah. That was a fantastic example.
Really good invention from human beings, the map. Everybody knows how to use a map. Or, I don't know the English word, but when you play music, you have a paper with dots on it.
Sheet music in American English.
Sheet music, yeah. Isn't that a marvelous
How do you say it in
invention?
Swedish?
Noter.
Noter.
Huh.
Notes.
So it's
Notes.
notes.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
How do you say Sweden in Swedish? Because like in Japan, it's Nihon or Nippon. It has nothing to sound like Japan.
Sverige.
Sverige. Lovely. Lovely.
Yeah. But think about the notes. You can have people from all over the world.
Different
And
ages.
Yes, and they play different musics. And if you have the notes, they can play together and magic happens. So what if we could have magic happen in our factories, in the workplaces, through the visualization? I think that is... I think there is potential here.
Let me ask you this question. Like, how much visualization do you think we really need when visualization is there for transporting information which could be aggregated by an AI? So do we need to visualize stuff for the AI now, or do we still focus on visualizing for the human worker in the factory?
That's an interesting question.
I mean, I hope the visualization is going to help us in a fun and interesting way. I mean, we're humans. Let's take care of that aspect. Let's enjoy the ride. To do the part that we've decided is for the humans to do. So I was talking about choosing your project and the AI not assigning your project, not taking away your autonomy, but making visible very quickly enough information for you to choose your own project. And that was part of what I was calling the justice board today. But that's because the use case is, it was decided it's valuable to have the humans choose their own project as long as they have the right data to make an educated decision. Approximate priority, financial efficiency, what skill is likely to be involved, what skill they would grow, what skill they would use. So the visualization would need to show that. But where I think you were building up is, well, what if the AI is going to make the decision anyway in some cases? Do we visualize to teach the AI?
Yeah.
Wow, that's intriguing.
And how do visualizations look if we optimize them for a robot to be consumed, right?
Yeah.
I just leave you with that thought, and I will open up the door of the Volvo. Everyone can now listen how loud or silent the door is. And I will plug in the laptop to the power outlet there, because I'm afraid that it will die.
And that would make
As you go
Santa's
in the
workshop
percent-
start.
What's the visualization saying? Is the percentage going to...
It's giving me red signals. Okay. Yeah, you can go.
Shall we continue discussing?
Yeah, of course.
So building on what you said.
Please.
And that question, I think the question Benjamin is raising here, what are we visualizing for? So what's the purpose of visualization? So visualization itself is a mean to an end. It's not an end itself. So I think that's a good question to raise. If we want to visualize in a company, what are we visualizing for? Now, considering humans, I think visualization also kind of includes this question, what is the role? And I think you were tapping into that, Joe. What's the role of AI? What's the role of humans? Okay. And of course, the beginning discussion was like antagonists. Okay. It's either going to be, so AI is going to replace you. Probably not. It's more like the power is in the cooperation, like in the hybrid. And in a way, you could say visualizing for humans, the purpose is to leverage human ingenuity. So
I resonate with that.
Yeah, so if the AI can provide all the information so we can build human ingenuity on top, how cool would that be? And I mean, just to add that last point here, as humans, we're a multi-sensor LLM, you could say. So the more sensors we use, and that's very clear, for example, in the research with kids in school, Like handwriting is better for memorizing than typewriting. That's very clear.
When learning in a song.
Exactly. So we're a multi-sensor LLM, okay? So visualization helps us to be more creative, to be more innovative, because more sensors are addressed. We understand better, and then innovation happens. So that is what I think is the purpose of visualization for people.
And you can use some tried and true formats that engage really well with humans multiculturally, like sheet music.
Yes.
Like a map.
Yes.
I mean, truly profound. The concept of a map is a little different in Japan where I live, but like north doesn't mean north a lot of the time. But the map is not oriented towards the north a lot of the time, where that's uncomfortable for me still, even though I've been living in Japan for a while now.
How is it oriented then?
It appears to be random. So I really, I think for convenience. And Japan is really tall north to south on the map, but it's actually leaning a little bit to the right. So it doesn't quite fit in landscape or portrait on A4 paper. It's angled. So I think this is where the comfort with distorting where north is comes from. Very often, Japan will be rotated in a visualization to be east-west. So it fits in landscape view very often when it's printed. And people get used to that. And in Japan, they actually say Tokyo is east of Osaka and Nagoya, even though looking at the map, the distance is much more north. Yes, it is to the east, but the gap is far more north-oriented. And Fukuoka in the deep south is west. Well, it's a little west, but it's much more shifted north-south if you actually put it on a grid. But it's said it's east-west because people are used to laying it that way. So I think it's actually to fit. I mean, Japan's really efficiency-oriented in all things. And they'll playfully draw things stylized and cute a lot, right? But I think the idea of orienting things to fit on a standard format piece of cardstock or board, I'm guessing is where this idea came from. People became comfortable with it. But now a subway sign on the wall, which way is your exit, there's sometimes not even a north marker. And it's not always oriented. It's usually not oriented from where you're facing. It appears to be random. But apart from north not being angled up, the map concept fits perfectly, even in this very different culture that doesn't think north has to be up, which might shock me. But the other aspects of what makes a map and high usefulness and immediately recognizable and actionable by people of all ages totally transfers, as does sheet music, right? So if we're going to ask an AI to make a multimodal visualization that increases our autonomy, that's new to the podcast, but that's been an ongoing conversation from this morning. Those might be fantastic prompts and seed information to build into the prompt engineering. Please consider the approachability and multicultural access of sheet music and many kinds of maps, right? That's probably not a bad way to start.
To add explanation to that, why did we talk about autonomy so much? Because autonomy is a precondition for self-motivation. So that
autonomy, mastery, and purpose is what the research Dan Pink popularized.
So, and I think that's very clear. If you don't have autonomy, you're not really motivated. Whereas if you have the feeling I can control a little bit of the world around me, which is autonomy, then you're much more motivated to experiment, tinker, and figure stuff out. And I think it's also very clear that the problems we're facing, the challenges we're facing as humanity, can only be solved as a team sport with autonomous teams.
I think when you talk about autonomy like that, it sounds very intriguing, but in what I experience is autonomy is like a spectrum. So the question is how much autonomy in what areas of your work do you really need in order to get the results, right?
Very true.
You can be autonomous in many different ways.
Yes.
Like in my company where I work, you can choose, the employees choose their own salary, right? How does that benefit the overall company? I don't know. Does it? I don't know. But we just wanted to have the maximum autonomy that we could get in order to find out and see what happens and see what people do with that freedom. But thinking that inside of a multinational billion-dollar organization, that could quickly escalate where you don't want it to go. So I think to find out where you want to give that autonomy.
Well, IT Agile is not small potatoes. I mean, there's plenty of money to be absconded with.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's not like it's not a multi-billion-dollar multinational company. I mean, near.
It's a multi-million company. That is true. Yeah.
Benjamin, I like to rephrase your question here.
Sure.
So maybe, like, organizations are always there. It's always a combination of autonomy for the individual or a small group, combined with an alignment towards a converging vision we have. Otherwise, that makes an organization.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not an organization.
Yeah.
It's like individuals, everybody doing their stuff.
So what you're saying is autonomy needs direction.
Yes, for me, they're not different concepts. They need to go together.
Yeah.
So it's basically not so much autonomy in general, but So what's the purpose of autonomy? One is, of course, feedback, but the other is like motivation. But the other one is also that people can learn, get feedback, and get that feeling of success. So, in my experience, that doesn't mean they have total autonomy, tapping into the 4 levels you showed this morning.
Yeah, Heckman's 4 levels
Yes.
of autonomy.
So the 4th level gives like total autonomy.
You set your own goals.
And that means we're probably not an organization anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's more like, what is the area of autonomy a person or a group needs to feel in control and successful?
Yeah.
Wow, we're contributing here.
Tilo, would you tie that back, if you don't mind?
Sure.
To explaining why we're in a Volvo and why we're in the highest customer satisfaction rate Volvo dealership and service center in all of Sweden.
There's probably a couple of reasons here. It's always difficult to describe a status quo with one parameter. I think we need to know the history, how this team got here. But what was striking for me yesterday, listening to Einar, who's the MD here, was that he was so much focused on, of course, giving autonomy to the engineers. So basically, he said there's no middle management here. Everybody,
That was surprising. In a sales and service center,
exactly.
he said there's no middle management.
Yes. So,
And he said the workers clean their own areas, put away their own tools, take out their own tools, buy their own tools when they're broken,
Exactly.
recycle their own pieces. He said they don't have staff that does phases of the work for them. You're full stack as a service tech.
and
Right?
that reminded me of what Eon says. Everybody's working on the line. It's not like there is everybody's an engineer.
Yeah.
And engineers means you're doing something with your hands and your brains on the product. It's not our traditional understanding of an engineer, which is a degree. I think that's different. Yeah.
And there is also a couple of restrictions that I've seen here that really struck my mind. That you are asked to make use out of that autonomy. So one sentence that I kept in my head was that I don't want to see you running around the shop searching for tools. Buy hundreds if you need them. I want tools everywhere. I don't want to see you searching anything here, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
I please create redundancy and don't ask for permission.
Yes. I recall that now that you say it. Didn't jump out to me at the time. Now that you say it, I remember hearing it. Absolutely interesting.
So that's one point that stuck out yesterday for me. And obviously Einar has this long-term vision of empowering is not such a good word, but giving people autonomy on their work process.
They don't choose their goal.
No.
Right? He's saying
No.
we are a dealership. We do maintenance.
Exactly.
We upsell tires that we've refurbished, wheels and tires that we've refurbished. Here's aspects of the business model that are commanded to you.
Yes.
Within this framework, be awesome. And it is the highest net promoter score service center in all of Sweden and sales center. And I think highest growth, they had a whole bunch of positive accolades. So best in Sweden,
Yes,
best in the world.
Yes.
So we're in a
and
special place if you love Volvo.
I think there's a second. There's probably more, but the second aspect that really struck me yesterday was Einar's total customer focus, starting with what are our customers attracted by? Like, it's a one-stop, one person that I'm in contact with. Don't waste my time.
Super fast service.
Super fast
40
service.
minutes to
And-
change a
and
rear
for
windshield.
him, that translates into, I want the engineer, the person, so the mechanic, to be the contact person for the customer.
Yes.
And he went to great lengths to overcome prejudice. What's the English word? Prejudices?
Yeah. Preconceived notions.
Yeah, preconceived notions like, like mechanics can't do that. They're not sociable. They can't operate a computer. Come on, okay? He said, I don't care. I want the person that is working on the product be in direct contact with the customer.
Even
That-
for the upsell, which you think would be
Yes.
a sales department. Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, I think, takes the idea of everybody's an engineer even further, because that means everybody's an engineer and in direct contact with the customer. How cool is that?
Yeah.
I think we could see that yesterday, because when we were out here in the shop floor, walking around, talking to people, did you see how many eyes you met?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Eye contact and
Yes,
smiles and like nodding, and that we had so much communication without words with people. I was seen and I saw people and they saw me. There was something else here.
I think we have to mention where we are. I think we didn't mention the brand, right?
Not clearly.
We're at Remus. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
how
Yes.
you pronounce
Yes.
it? Remus.
REJMES.
And if you're ever in the market for buying a Volvo and you live in Sweden or not, reach out to them. Just drive over here. It's worth the visit on its own, even if you don't buy a Volvo.
When Benjamin floated the idea past, what about we record a podcast in Christmas suits in one or more of your cars? They're like, of course, which car? How do you want? And they just handed Benjamin the key to the nicest, coolest one and said, why don't you drive it around for a bit, then park it where you like and set up your gear. There was... I'm fairly accurately describing.
That's how it went.
There's a lounge and a restaurant here that the GM, Remus, I'm not sure if that's his direct title, the head, said he stole the idea from a dealership in Bangkok where they had a restaurant and lounge that was really hip in the dealership. And he said, of course we're going to do that. And he was saying it's nice enough and the service is fast enough that 80% of the customers stay in the lounge and the restaurant until their service is done when they come in to bring the car. And it is. So we had lunch here twice, and it was a really nice
good.
restaurant.
Yeah.
It was also beautiful. It was fashionable and cool, says the person in the Santa Claus costume, so I'm for whatever that's worth. But it was.
We should rate it on
was boss.
TripAdvisor.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, for sure. 5 stars on Google.
Yeah.
So while we're at rating, what do you think? We're all sitting in this car right here. What is your impression of it? What would you say?
So I think it's pretty serious about its Chinese aesthetic, which I actually like a lot.
What is the Chinese aesthetic?
It's not subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Stylish sounds too vague, but I mean, if you're looking at the car from the vantage point I'm in, you have these curvy, fluid chrome lines framing white wood. It's not minimalist, and it's not quiet. There's a lot of full contrast, white to chrome to deep black. There's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of texture and a lot of different textures and overlapping textures. Something that strikes me about the engineering is how tiny the frunk is for how huge the car is. And then let me bookend that with, I actually love it. And I was in, I think it's called the EX30, the electric smaller SUV, and felt really at home right away. And could imagine the Swedish... There's a lot of Easter eggs under the frunk, which, as I mentioned, is way too small, letting me know that people just haven't figured out how to optimize the battery electronics or any of the core engineering. The hardcore engineering has not been optimized. It's way too big, it's way too heavy, it's not efficient. You can see that in the kilowatts consumed from the battery pack for the kilometers you drive. It's just not efficient electrically. However, there's cute or interesting things everywhere. On the underside of the frunk, there's different animals imprinted on the underside of the frunk lid. The EX30 has a moose, I think, is what it was. And I think it's spiders, actually. I haven't seen it, but I was told by one of the sales agents that I think he said spiders. But he was speaking half in Swedish.
You know, when I got my Model S from the Fremont factory, I also had spiders in the headlights.
Oh, but actual spiders.
Actual spiders from Fremont.
Yeah. So I race EVs in the largest EV racing series in the world, I think. The Japanese EV Racing Association's Grand Prix. It's the only national EV racing series, I think, globally. And Hyundai enters their i5Ns to test them, because EV racing actually still contributes to engineering. And this is GT racing, so they're actually the cars you would buy, and very little is allowed to be changed. And then Teslas just always win. They always win. The engineering is completely on a different level.
Yeah.
And half the price. There's this car that said it had, 1,400 horsepower, the Xiaomi S7, SU7?
SU7, it is the SU7.
And it came out, it couldn't finish the race. Like, the engineering just wasn't there.
Okay, but the SU7 is a kind of special because what they do is they completely ditch the idea of having a concept with the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you buy a BMW M3...
Well, they're a phone maker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you buy a BMW M3 and you take it to the track, you will see that it's made for the track. You will have good brakes, you will have good aerodynamics, you just feel that it's made for the track. If you take the SU7, it has steel brakes with only 2 pistons. The brakes are not made for racing it. The brakes are not made for making usage of that 600 plus horsepower that car has. It's made for an everyday use, and the everyday use of the brakes is, well, once in a while when the region is not strong enough, you have to push that pedal.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah,
they fit in very small brakes, right? So it's when you take them out of the factory and you go to a race, I think with EVs that's almost not the case that you can just grab it and go there.
Well,
I heard it's with Tesla Model 3, it's pretty cool, Model 3 performance, and the Hyundai is doing a great job. But
Yeah, the Hyundai did do a great job.
yeah.
They actually entered 4 factory race cars in the second to last round last year of the race series, and they won. They got first, second, and fourth, I think is what it was.
Wow.
And then the next race they came again, and they were all really slow. And I was trying to figure out why, and I didn't figure out for sure, but my rationale is I don't think they do thermal protection on the battery. I don't think it'll go into protection mode. When the battery gets hot, I think they just let it start to damage itself. And I think all those packs are wrecked because I think the engineering isn't good enough for pack longevity. And they did have one great race in them. They were super fast.
yeah,
And they're these block SUVs. You wouldn't expect it. They
Yeah.
rocked.
Yeah.
And then the next race, one of them, they couldn't take out of the park. It couldn't enter the race. And the other 2 finished quite poorly. Same cars, factory prepped, factory racing numbers, the whole thing. They arrived very serious, 4 matching cars. They raced 3 of them, had 1 in reserve. It was super cool. The Volvo, I can absolutely see myself owning. From the principle of appreciating its engineering, I have to say that I feel that the things are bigger and heavier than they need to be. However,
I would love to have the service they have here in this.
there's
Yeah.
so much
Reimes
other
in
things
Yeah.
to love.
Halmstad.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't get an answer from Tesla. Like,
yeah.
and here, like, this is a particularly awesome dealership. As they mentioned, like, no one outscores them in several key metrics for years. But you have access to that by buying into this brand.
Yeah.
Like, if I lived anywhere around here, I would seriously consider, if not commit, to probably the EX30. I felt awesome in it. I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable is too narrow. Like, it felt right.
Yeah. But what do you think should like car makers like Volvo or Volkswagen, like the European brands, what should they do in order to speed up and try to get on that pedestal together with Tesla to embrace the different opportunities that tech and especially EVs provide?
Well, those companies are just brands. They're not doing the work or the engineering, and they're not involved in the work or the engineering. So, I mean, from a brand management perspective, they're probably near the best in the world. But if you're interested in actually differentiating the product with something other than brand perception, you might want to actually get involved with something other than the brand. And none of those companies are. And
What
haven't
makes
been for a
you
long
What
time.
makes you think that way?
If you look at where the cars are physically made, the Gemba, and if you look at where the financial allocations are made, the financial Gemba, they're not even in the same time zone or in the same language.
Yeah. People would argue that it's way too expensive for, let's say, a German brand or German car maker to really make cars in Germany anymore. People are shutting down, like companies are shutting down factories. Ford is shutting down their factories. Audi has shut down a factory. Volkswagen is shutting down their entire software carrier part of that, and hope, fingers crossed, that Rivian will save the day. Do you really think they are even capable of doing that, let's say, within Europe in the current market situation?
It is possible to be done. Is the board capable of making the types of decisions that would create the action? Like, capital is an allocation, money is an allocation of labor. What you're willing to pay determines what people work on. And if the decisions are made by people watching PowerPoint, then you are allocating your capital for people to make better PowerPoint on which for you to make your decisions. And until the board is willing to make decisions not on PowerPoint, but because of their direct engineering experience at the point of production, no, none of those companies have a chance. However, they still have enough money that they could, but it depends on, are those people willing to make decisions based on not PowerPoint? And I'm not seeing it.
And just chiming in there, Benjamin, you said it's assumed it's too expensive, too costly. Now, cost is the result of the time we spend for the labor multiplied the labor cost. So if we take to that level, we already have two variables. Do we need, is the labor too high? So basically, are we too inefficient? Yes. But that can be dealt with. We can get more productive. Like what you just said, okay, this car is too heavy, which means it costs too much in labor costs because you need to bring all these parts into here. Like if you reduce the number of parts, so how many parts do you need to make the same revenue? The more parts you need for the same revenue, the worse you are in your efficiency, in your productivity. So that's one way to measure it. And so we can work on that. Now, I think one of the main obstacles beside that disconnect between decision making and the process, which is basically what you said,
Nice to talk to a lean Kata expert on these topics.
Is that we have these kind of, we have settled in with some perceptions. Like you said this morning, the quality of a test is not determined by the duration of the test, the time it takes, but the quality of the test. So the amount of time it needs to build a car is it's not a fixed value. We've just settled on that. Like if you go back to the Henry Ford times with the River Rouge plant, debatably like 24 to 48 hours lead time. Okay, there we go. This is how fast you can build a car.
And refining their own metals. I mean,
Exactly.
Amazing. Talk about that's vertical integration.
So I would say, basically putting it what we started discussion with, building a car in Germany or in Europe is too expensive is an excuse for not being willing to question our perceptions and be going down to where stuff happens and say, what can we change today?
Well, we look at Brandenburg in Germany. And it's making the best-selling car in the world, and it's profitable, and it's at a lower price than less capable cars that cost a lot more that have lower profit margins.
But Brandenburg was built on a green field, right? I think what keeps the bigger car companies away is that they have made their down payment and their investment in those huge factories, which they calculated over 6, 8, maybe 10 years sometimes. and they just put their capital there, and now they're sitting on it because it's not doing what they would now do if they had the liquidity.
Well, but on the other hand,
The cash is tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
On the other hand, that is not something that happened overnight.
Of course.
So that was coming. Like I think back visiting the BMW plant, or when I was in the BMW plant, working there for a project on.
And there's phenomenal engineering, at least in pockets, in all of these companies. For example, in the BMW plant.
So the like I was the electric vehicle, the smallest one that BMW has.
i3.
Yeah, the i3, exactly.
i4, the i3 is
And
dead
you
now.
had one, though.
Yeah, I
So,
had one.
but when they ramped up the production, we were looking at the production line, and that was
Cool.
the first production line they had, where the concept change was that the car was sitting on a autonomous vehicle instead of on a conveyor belt.
Yep.
So basically they said, A, we can make the line longer and shorter whenever we want, overnight. B, we don't need, these concrete kind of, what you need for a conveyor belt. Basically, we think we could ship the line to any other plant, which within probably 4 weeks.
Sounds agile.
And you go like, wow, you've got a gem here.
Yeah.
I mean, that is probably 8 years back, something like that.
Where did they ship it?
Exactly. So they, what kind of upsets me, you could say, we have all the ingredients, okay? We have super well-educated engineers. We have all the ideas. We had all the ideas.
Yeah.
But we've not maxed out on them.
Yeah, 100%. Have you seen the video that BMW released with their new factory line where they have these autonomous robots? They look like the Optimus robot.
I haven't seen the video.
And they have
Sounds
like their
great.
own AI on it, and the robots just behave like human beings. And they had them for a couple of years now, and they're pretty fast.
Yeah.
And they never get sick, and they never stop working. And when they need to charge up, they would just walk over to the little charging pad and charge themselves.
And
That's
exactly.
it's wild. You should definitely see that video. We're going to link it into the show notes, but please
Yeah,
watch the
that's a
episode
great
before
idea.
you click on the link.
Yeah. So I think when we kind of summarize what we just discussed, it seems like the major limit is in our imagination.
Yeah.
It's
This
the
is
willingness to imagine a future that is very different from what we... And just say, okay, the future's not here,
Yeah.
but it's not physically impossible. I mean, physics applies, but anything else can be debated or discussed or challenged. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
And there's also a cultural thing, I think, that is also happening, because car companies were like really safe investments. If you bought a stock from a car company, that was a really safe investment. And now it is a very risky investment. So the allocation of capital needs to come from those risky investors and not from those pension funds that are allocating their capital on super safe investments. And here in Europe, at least, we have a real problem with allocating risk capital because it's such a cluttered market, and the typical risk investor, like a Series A, seed, VC, PE type of fund, would not approach a car company that has been out there for so many years, like Volkswagen, and say, oh, that's the target of a new investment, or that goes into our very high-risk fund. Right? They would not think of that, but actually the market is putting their car manufacturers in a place where I think we should consider them as a very, like a high-risk, potentially high-return investment.
Yeah. I mean, you've been inside car companies. So we've been discussing what obstacles do existing car companies have to kind of, catch up. What do you think is, from the inside, what do you think are the obstacles? Why are existing companies, we said, so slow in getting better?
I have an old version of how it is working in automotive, since I haven't been in automotive for some years now. So I'm not sure I'm the right person. But what I've heard from how what you were describing this morning, also how Tesla works, and there is something in the way of working that we want to keep, the old way of working, and maybe is that we are afraid of changing not only automotive, but what if we are afraid of changing our way of working, so we can have this frequent, rapid problem solving, frequent ideas, frequent decisions, and just to try.
What if the actual way of working is what's held on to?
Sorry?
What if the way of working itself is what is held on to? People don't want to change it. Did I hear you?
What if it's so? Or what if the organizations are growing so we have so many manager levels, so we are occupied with managing levels. We even have a method called layered audit in layers. For me, it eats time.
Yeah.
What should if we don't decide what to do with that layered audit? But yeah, maybe. What is your thinking about that?
No, I wanted to hear Benjamin on that, but it just remind me of what Einar from Ramus said yesterday here. No middle management.
Yeah.
It taps into what Jack Ma says about NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Reporting span 1 to 60. No
Yeah.
middle management.
Yeah.
No one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a very exciting time because long existing management paradigms, which are basically building on a multi-layered chain of command, are changing. And this is so cool. This is so exciting. And so that means the way of work is changing, and people are empowered by what you shared this morning, Joe, with the mob AI. So that is actually an empowerment for people. And it makes us more productive.
Yep.
And it removes layers of information flow up and down that are actually slowing decision-making down. It's a very old concept. It's a military concept. Move decision-making to the front line, right?
Yeah.
This is where decisions should be made.
But companies, they move the decisions to the front line, or at least they're trying, but they're still keeping like the same workforce, the same middle management. So I wanted to go into the same direction that you went, because I really like what you, Joe, showed us in the Mob AI workshop today, about the middle management. I put it in my words, and hopefully it's okay with that, that the AI is probably going to replace the middle management.
Sure.
For gathering the data, making the decisions.
If we ask decisions to be made at the point of work without real-time data on your decision, then we're probably going to get randomness and some mistakes. And people do that. There's been movements to dissolve traditional management before the feedback loop has been put anywhere else, and it gives a random result. But through a tool like what I'm introducing as the Justice Board, what I think I experienced as the boards at Tesla, first there's this feedback loop, like trying to give a dieter a scale first or a race car a lap time first. And then you can say, everybody, what would you do to lose a kilogram this month? Or, hey, everybody, what would you do to get 1/10 of a second off a lap time? You have that feedback loop first. If instead your most experienced people don't put a feedback loop and just say, do what you want, I think that's probably not the answer. Yeah. But we're in an information age where real-time data is significantly more useful, better visualized than ever in the history of civilization. So it only makes sense we would have some flat, non-hierarchical point of work design, implementation, correction, and improvement points that don't have any of the layered management or hierarchy that we did before, because there are better, more actionable, more clear, more real-time metrics gathered without a human department gathering them. Yep. They're automated. Exactly. It's like having a speedometer in your car. You don't need a manager telling you to push the accelerator more or less. You look at the speedometer and you can hold the speed limit. Well, I mean, now autopilot, so that's already a bad example.
And this is not only like a philosophic idea that we're talking here. So you said it's already reality at the Musk company. And I think once Elon entered Twitter, not sure when that was exactly, but right after that we saw one of the most agile companies that we see in the media doing almost the same thing. So we had the year of efficiency at Meta, where the most of the people that being laid off was within the middle management.
Yeah.
We had the same thing going on at Salesforce, where Mark Benioff and I think Elliott Management did most of the part, because Mark Benioff is a pretty nice person, but Elliott Management is hard on the numbers. So they laid off their middle management as well. And I think we're going to see that in many, 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 many other companies as well. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with those companies where it's easy, like the countries where it's easy to do those layoffs, where it's easy to do the restructuring, and then it's going to trickle down into the other companies as well.
And like if we just for perspective change, take a historic look on that. That's actually a very old concept. So if you go to the military, it's based on what was experimented with and basically learned during the French-Prussian Wars. It's the German word is Auftragstaktik, English word is mission command, where they realized that the traditional way of doing a battle, which is with the commander hill, and then telling the troops what to do, didn't work anymore because the front line was too diverse and too large. So if you send somebody with, the tactical order, the once the rider on the horse arrived, telling the people what to do, the situation had already changed. They said, "No, we can't do this. There's a cannon there.
Yeah.
What should we do?" Go back to Berlin. They were kind of on their table, kind of send the rider back. Once the rider returned, a week later, they were already all dead. Okay, so they realized, okay, we have to move tactical. We only issue strategy. This is where we want to be in like 5 days. But tactical decisions need to be made at the front line. And they changed that. And that turned every modern army nowadays is run like this. A very old concept. Just in companies, we haven't done that. Secondly, they realized that if you do that, you need to educate people and teach them, frontline people, how to make decisions in a better way. This is where I think what we're trying to practice with Kata, the scientific thinking part, taps in. So you cannot just tell people, "Oh, you're autonomous. Do whatever you like." You have to give them direction, strategy, and you have to train them how to do the decision making. Plus, and that's the third thing, which they realized at that time, but also we realize now, you have to give people clarity. That's the visualization, the information, the AI, ultimate access to any information they need, because otherwise they can't make decisions.
Exactly.
So that all ties into what is actually a very old concept, and it's really cool to see how companies are now transforming into this. And also it goes back, I think, to what Henry Ford said, the pride of workmanship. It's like he said, we've deprived people in an organization from the pride of workmanship, what they do with their hand, being proud of what they're doing. So basically flipping this now and giving autonomy to people on the front line, supporting them with AI, practicing scientific thinking so they become good experiments in decision making, is giving back the pride of workmanship, which is what you said, Joe, you experienced at Tesla, being very proud and cheering about, hey, we did it, right?
I really felt like I was playing in my favorite plastic building block set. I don't know if we're allowed to say the one starts with L.
You're allowed to swear on this podcast. Don't worry about it.
It really was fun. It felt like play. Now, sometimes people have gotten a game or a play set or something they like so much they played way into the night and didn't sleep enough or whatever and got exhausted. Well, I did get really tired. I did choose to leave Tesla, but it was super fun. I thought, my reaction. And for the reason, I think we understood each other on that point for the reason you just explained, Thilo. Thank you. I felt that the feedback loop was quick enough on the actual product sold that I felt I could see my action on things that people were buying.
Yes. And that creates a high measure of satisfaction. It's like we once talked to a German biologist and brain researcher, Gerald Hüther, He's done a lot of research on HDHS and also traumatic, like working with
PTSD?
Post-battle trauma, like with soldiers.
PTSD.
Yeah.
PTSD,
Thanks.
post-traumatic stress disorder, yeah.
Thank you. And he said, well, there's no matter what happens, there's always two underlying desires we humans have, and you cannot destroy these. You can kind of cover them up, but you cannot destroy them. And I said, it's the feeling of belong to a group, something, because that's like pre-birth. It's like the love of being with your mother and then with the family, and growing beyond ourselves. So trying something new. And Gerald said at that time, that's many years back, he said, in organizations, it seems like we've managed to deprive people from that. They don't have the feeling of belonging, and they're not allowed to do something they cannot do today, like grow beyond themselves.
Yeah.
So they take the money and do it somewhere else. And I think the feelings you described, Joe, you had personally, totally, for me this morning, tapped into that. You were feeling, you had a feeling of belonging with the group you were with.
At least with the mission.
Yeah, with the mission.
That
yeah.
this is a mission-aligned group.
Yes.
And I think many people I talked to said something like
Yeah.
that, the mission.
And also you said like, hey, I was growing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skill transfer that we
and that's
practiced
like
this
two
morning.
basic needs.
Yeah, well said. I wasn't aware of that paradigm. That resonates. That
Yeah.
resonates a lot. Why are we dressed as Santa Claus and a reindeer, Benjamin?
Because it's fun.
Agreed. Everybody, stellar work. IT Agile podcast. Happy holidays from Halmstad, Sweden. The Reims Volvo dealership, record-setting, record-holding. And inside, one phenomenal piece of Chinese-Swedish engineering that I think just about everyone would enjoy putting their family in. I think there's a third row seat back there in this
I
huge
think
electric
there
SUV.
is an option for a third row seat.
I think I see seatbelts.
If you're in the market for an EV, or even if you're not for an EV, just check this car out. It's really, really cool. Apart from that, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Thanks for bearing with us. If you want to see more funny pictures, check out the LinkedIn. We provide all the links below. Connect with everyone in this car. And yeah, see you on social media. Happy holidays. See you next year. Bye-bye.
Stellar work. That was stellar work.
Thank you. Thank you.
IT Agile.
Thank you so much for bearing with us. This is the last episode of this year, 2024. It's the very first year of the existence of this podcast, and I like to use this outro to say thank you to each one of you listening. Without you, this would have been nothing. It would be really cool to reach out to you. I see the numbers on the podcast growing and the audience is getting bigger and bigger, but it's really hard to keep up and getting to know everyone that jumps on the show. So make sure to subscribe to the newsletter, reach out on LinkedIn. There are all the necessary links in the show notes below. It would be really cool to hear from you, even if it's just to say Merry Christmas. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for the very first year. We're off to a second year. This thing will probably go places. I don't know. And Merry Christmas to you and your family, and see you all next year. Bye-bye.
Where the snow gently falls, Santa Ben and his podcast crew calls with Rudolph, Tilo, and Maria by side. In the podcast car they ride. Jingle bells, Kata rings on a snowy evening bright. Podcasting live with Christmas spirits light. Laughing through Katacon in Christmas suits so fine. Stellar work Christmas, oh how they shine. From the Kata conference, tales unfold in the EV that's big and bold. Santa suit and Rudolph's gear, bringing Christmas podcast cheer. With visuals and tales of AI, under the Swedish snowy sky, they discuss, they laugh, they share insights. The final show under the northern lights. Jingle bells, Kata rings on a snowy evening bright. Podcasting live with Christmas spirits light. Laughing through Katacon in suits so fine. Stellar work Christmas, oh how they shine. From the podcast ends, they say goodbye with a festive cheer, no one shy. Happy holidays from the stellar crew. Till next year, keep your spirits true.